All right, here we go. So 2x plus 10, 2x plus 6 equals 10. That means either 2x plus 6 equals 10 or 2x plus 6 equals negative 10, right? Because if the absolute value equals 10, then either you are the number 10 itself or you're negative 10. One of those two things has to be true. So let's just solve each equation. Subtract 6, divide by 2. X is either equal to 2 or subtract 6, divide by 2, x is negative 8, either way, okay? And then if you're not confident about that, plug it back in. If you plug in 2 times 2 is 4, plus 6 is 10, absolute value of 10 is 10. 2 times negative 8 is negative 16, plus 6 is negative 10, and the absolute value of negative 10 is 10, okay? So you see why this works by doing the check. 2 makes this inside guy 10. Negative 8 makes this inside guy negative 10. Those are your two possibilities. Mark.
Is that supposed to be a plus 6 or a minus 6?
It's a plus.
Okay.
This sign changed.
I did the same thing you did.
Yes, not this. This. Yeah, yes. You knew a sign changed somewhere, but you weren't quite sure where. But now you know. Now you know. Right? Yes, yes. Go.
Wait, so if that's a... Oh, wait, never mind.
So these things are identical on both sides. These are both the inside guys of the absolute value. But if I tell you I have a number in my pocket, and the absolute value of that number is 100, what are the two possibilities for this number in my pocket? 100 or negative 100. 10 or negative 10, right? Issues on that? Number 2. X squared plus 2x minus 24 equals 0. Now, we know how to solve quadratics. Obviously, if we can factor it, that's probably the fastest way. If you can't factor, then quadratic formula will always work. And in this case, it said solve. So if you solved it using quadratic formula, I wouldn't be mad at you. But I do think this will be faster by factoring. Two numbers that multiply negative 24, add to 2. Multiply negative 24, add to 2. Ava?
Negative 4 and 6.
Yeah, negative 4 and positive 6. All right, negative 4 times 6 is negative 24. Negative 4 plus 6 is 2. Hello? Okay, I will have to, I'm recording, so I'll have to change that after. Remind me, please. So now I can set each one of those parentheses equal to 0. Either x minus 4 is 0 or x plus 6 is 0. Subtract 6, you get x is negative 6. Add 4, you get x is positive 4. Questions on the solving by factoring. Factor it, then use the zero product property. If this number times this number is 0, that means one of those numbers has to be 0, right? That's how solving by factoring works. Okay, so set x minus 4 equals 0, set x plus 6 equals 0. Those are your two different solutions for x. Questions? 13. Solve by completing the square. This is when we bring the positive 5 over as negative 5, and this is the cut in half and square business. Okay, what's half of 4? Squared is 4. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Notice the solutions here are going to be complex because the right-hand side is going to be negative.
Wait, can you do that again? How you got the 4?
Yes.
Just so I can write it down.
Yes. So I brought the negative 5 over.
Yep.
Half of 4 is?
2.
Squared is? Yep. I'll actually change the color. Okay. Now, what does that left-hand side turn into? 2 and 2, right? It's x plus 2 quantity squared equals negative 1. And it says solve by completing the square. So this is the procedure that we go through. Now, if I want to get x by itself, what do I have to do first? Square root. and that gives me a plus or minus on the right-hand side, right? So I'm going to square root. I get x plus 2. Actually, let's get rid of the parentheses here. X plus 2 equals plus or minus. What's the square root of -1? I.
Let's go, baby.
All right. So reduce that however you need to. Subtract 2 from both sides. X is -2 plus or minus I. Okay. So we complete the square. So when you take the square root and subtract or add, depending on how it works, you get the x by itself. That's the idea. Okay. Complete the square. Square root both sides gets you to x plus 2. Subtract the 2. X is all by itself. Well, awesome. Questions on number 13. Cut in half and square. Cut in half and square. We're happy? 14. Solve using the quadratic formula. X equals -b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Of course, if you wanted to, you could use some of the space on your note card to write that down. That's your choice. We get x equals, let's see, b is -5, so the opposite of b is +5. Plus or minus the square root b squared will be 25, right? Don't make it -25. -5 times -5 is +25. Okay, be careful there. Minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Let's see, that inside the square root, 4 times 4 is 16 times 3 is 48. So when I have 25 minus 48, I think I get -23. Is that right? And what's the square root of -23? Can't the I go out? The negative gets rid of the negative, I goes out front. So the final answers should be 5 plus or minus I radical 23 over 6. Nothing to simplify there. 23 is prime, so you can't reduce the square root. 5 over 6 doesn't reduce. What else we can do? That's using the quadratic formula. -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All over 2a. And since it does say by the quadratic formula, I would expect to see you do the quadratic formula. The previous one that just said solve, technically speaking, didn't say what method. So factoring was easiest, but if you had done quadratic formula, I couldn't imagine. Yes, sir.
It's kind of a dumb question. Like, if you were to have at the end, instead of a 5, like a 3, it's like 3 over 6, how would you simplify that?
Well, there you'd have to separate the numerators. So you're saying if I had something like this,
Right.
okay, so you can separate the numerator and make it 3 over 6 plus or minus I radical 23 over 6. And then you could reduce the 3/6 to 1/2. But notice the 23 still has the 6 down low.
Oh, okay. So you're just saying,
That in my mind, that actually doesn't make it any simpler. You know what I mean? Unless you have something that can kind of cancel from both terms up top, it might not even be worth your time.
So just keep it.
Well, if it can be, say there were a 3 here and a 6 here, you could cancel out a 3 and then reduce the 3 and the 6 to the 1 over 2. You could do that. But in this case, even if there were, even if it were 3 plus or minus I radical 23, which it is not, right? If you're watching the video at home, that's not what the answer is. But if it were, notice, I don't know how much simpler this looks than this.
Right.
You know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you.
Your words. Question number 14. All right. 15, solve. Ooh, it's a quartic, 4th degree. But now, what do you notice about all 3 of those terms? What's the GCF? X squared, right? I can factor out an x squared. So I'm going to make this x squared times x squared minus 4x minus 21. And now this is a quadratic, right? Are there two numbers that multiply to negative 21 and add to negative 4? Negative 7 and positive 3. So now what are my solutions? Be careful.
Plus 2 and minus 2.
Well, 7, negative 3, and what makes x squared 0? 0, right? This gives me a double solution of 0, which is, I have to say 0. This gives me a solution of 7, and this gives me a solution of negative 3.
I was right to a certain extent.
Don't forget that 0 out front. Okay.
Will that always be 0?
If it's x or x squared or x cubed or x to the 4th, yes. Because what number squared gives you 0? Just 0, right? There's no other answer. What number cubed gives you 0? Just 0. There's no other number. Questions on 15? We're good. 16. Ooh, what are we going to do here? Fraction equals a fraction. Cross multiply, right? Cross multiply this guy. Doop, doop. 4 times x minus 4 equals 7 times x plus 2. Distribute. Subtract. Looks like x is negative 10. Okay. In this case, always be careful to make sure that your solution can be plugged in, because notice you have x's in the denominator, so that can give us problems from time to time. But negative 10 works just fine down here, and it works fine down here. Okay. No problems, but always be cognizant whenever there is a potential domain issue. Negative 2 and positive 4 would be domain issues in this case. Negative 2 makes the left denominator 0. Positive 4 makes the right denominator 0. The answer didn't end up being one of those, but had the answer been negative 2 or 4, you'd have had to cross those out. Okay, because those are not possible to plug into the denominators. Issues on 16. Not too bad. This isn't too bad. We should be fine. 17. All right, what do we do here? It's kind of a trick. You got to know the trick first to solve this one. What do you have to do first? Add 5, right? We want to get the square root by itself, okay? And then we can start getting to work. Get the square root by itself. Pickens, do you know what we're going to do next? How do we get rid of the square root?
Do you square root 5 too?
Well, we're not going to, no, because it's not underneath the square root symbol. So I just add 5 over.
Yeah.
How do I get rid of the square root symbol?
Square it.
Square it. So let's square both sides. So what happens to the left-hand side? Just x minus 10 equals 25. Add the 10. Okay. If you tried to square both sides before getting the 5 over, your algebra would be terrible. And you'd end up getting a square root back anyway. Okay. You want to get rid of the square root, and we do that by adding 5, then squaring. Okay. And notice we should probably check, does it work? What's 35 minus 10? 25. What's the square root of 25? 5. What's 5 minus 5? 0. It works. Okay. When you see the square root, something like this, you want to get that square root by itself. Then square both sides. Questions on 17? Lord Harlock. How'd the swim team do this weekend, buddy?
We did pretty good.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Any new records?
We broke our previous one.
Did you really? Very nice.
Yes.
Very nice. What'd you get?
We had I think we dropped 2 seconds.
What's the one that you guys are all good in?
The 200 relay.
200 relay. So it's
Free relay.
and that means everybody goes 50.
Yeah.
Not everybody goes 200. Right. Okay. So it's the total length
Mm-hmm.
divided by 4. Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Divided by 4, right? Exactly. Like, does the 200 relay, does that mean 800 meters or does it mean 200 meters? Questions? I'm still pretty sure that if I tried to swim 50 meters, my arms would fall off.
50 meters?
Never. Never. Doggy paddle? Doggy paddle? No. I did not swim. I know how to swim, but I know how to stay above water and not drown. That is it. If you want me to go fast or do something fancy, you're looking at the wrong guy. You're looking at the wrong guy. How are we going to do this one? Number 18. How do we get x by itself?
Add 30.
Add 31, all right? And then divide by 4. I think it's 27. Okay. Now what do? What do I raise both sides to? The 4/3 power, right? We take the reciprocal of 3/4. Because remember, we're going to multiply those exponents. We want x the first. So we ask ourselves, what do we have to multiply 3/4 by to get 1? So we're going to raise both sides to the 4/3. 3/4 times 4/3 is 1, right? You multiply those exponents. So this is x. Now, what does 27 to the 4/3 mean? It means take the cube root, that's the 3, and then raise it to the 4th. What's the cube root of 27? 3. And what's 3 to the 4th?
3 times 3 times 3.
81. 81. So x is 81.
That makes that.
Okay. 27 to the 4/3. This means take the cube root of 27 and raise it to the 4th. That's what 27 to the 4/3 means. Cube root of 27 is 3. 3 to the 4th is 81. Okay. Or you can throw it in your calculator, which is what Miss Austin's trying to do right now. She's like, Marco, you're wrong. The answer isn't 81. There's no way it's 81. You're making it up. You're making it up. Confirmed. Did you doubt me?
I'm just checking.
Did you doubt Marco?
Wait, will
The
it not?
math legend?
Will it not work to put in your calculator?
No, it works.
Oh, okay.
It works. Yeah, it works.
I was just checking. See, people.
Okay,
She
I
didn't trust me.
I thought you were saying it wasn't.
This is hurting my brain.
Students from other schools know about me. They're like, this Marco guy can win. He's a number genius. I go to other schools or speech debate. You're that math guy. What's that?
You're like Bill Nye the Science Guy.
I am, but it's Ben Marco, the math guy. Without the
Hey,
tie.
what's it like
That
going
run.
on vacation?
What's that?
What's it like going on vacation?
Well, that's out of state,
Right.
so it's not as
But you saw
it's not
paparazzi?
it's not as
A
serious.
few
there.
signatures. How many?
A few signatures.
Seriously.
A few signatures. Not as much as it's right.
Still trying to get the name out there.
Exactly. You never know. It's booming though.
Is it?
It is.
Is it really?
We all know about Mallory trying out for the math team, right?
No.
Oh yeah, math. I didn't tell you guys about this.
No.
Did she make the
You're not very
team?
open
Hold-
with
hold
us.
on.
You're not very open with us. Our
Wipe that out.
relationship is not very
A
open.
few weeks ago, my job as a father reached the culmination point.
I don't know that word.
My daughter came home and said, I have a question. I said, yeah, what do you have? Am I allowed to try out for the math team? I was like, are you allowed to try out for the math team?
Vector. Oh yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. And actually what I said was, you're going to be math captain. Oh my goodness, you're going to be math team captain. And I said, here's what I told her. If you don't get math team captain, don't bother coming home.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, Dad, there's probably not even a math captain. Oh, there will be. It's going to be you. Even if they didn't do it in the past, they're doing it. So she had to take this test. So she took the test last Wednesday, I think. She's supposed to take the results back this week. But there were like 30 kids trying out for 15 spots. Math team is surging.
Wow.
Math is
I'm
so-
doing best.
social suicide. Mean Girls? Yes. Yes.
Oh my god, I can't wait to go back and watch that heartfelt story.
That's social suicide. All right, here we go. Inequalities. The only when you have to be careful with inequalities. When you multiply or divide by a negative, right? Which if you do this intelligently here, you can avoid that problem. Let's subtract x and subtract 17. So I will let you guys know. It's supposed to be this week where we're supposed to know about the
I want an email as soon as
math
you
team.
find out.
Oh, exactly. I'll put it on my Twitter page. Divide by 3.
You're gonna get one of those signs that like the football players get. It's like math team member lives here.
Yes. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it.
My God, can we all
So
get a
happy.
shirt with her face on it? Like, go you.
If
Show up to all
This
the
is
What
my
happens if she
daughter,
doesn't
team
make it?
captain of the math team.
That's gonna be really
I've already put. We'll see. I'm assuming that she'll make it because she's very. She's my.
got Marco's last name.
Do they know that she's your kid?
Well, and my wife is also a math teacher too. So there's like.
Okay.
But I will tell you right now, I have very much been acting like it's a gimme, and maybe I shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm a little nervous now that maybe.
How's her math grade?
Oh,
You should get 2 cakes and be like, congratulations, or get another cake. Like, it's okay.
If not, get her a little.
But if she doesn't make it, she's gonna feel really bad
Oh.
because I haven't been just like, oh yeah, just try your best. That's not really how I am. It's more like you better be the team captain or else. You know what I mean? Like just making the team is a good
Surprise. That'd be so
Get her like a little cake that's
Be
in
so
my bag.
I'm sorry.
X is less than -4. And if you wanted to graph it, you throw -4 on the line,
Plug and chug.
open circle, color into the left.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I love these
Vector.
conversations. We should watch that.
Vector.
We should come in during Christmas break and just
We'll see.
go to the sock, put it
And
on
watch
TV.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Pajama day. Bring in food.
That'd be awesome.
I think we should just do that instead of the exam.
Oh no.
Why not?
Well, I would rather not grade your exam. Does that make you feel any better? But I have to. Mr. Hill wouldn't be too
It's a
happy.
fair point.
It takes you like 5 minutes to grade.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, not this one. There's 30 questions.
It's a paper.
This one takes a long time to grade. Takes a long time to grade.
I remember
Unless you guys do really, really well, in which case it'll be really easy to grade.
geometry.
Isn't this your only,
some of these
CP
tests,
class?
and you were like literally.
Grades are really bad.
I don't know what was going on, but you were just staring at it. You were like, how?
So write it.
How did they get this?
Like,
It was so funny
When?
to watch. It was geometry. Like
Oh, geometry?
sophomore year.
Yeah,
You were
sometimes.
just like,
Oh,
I
just
swear,
the
if you could have like
steps.
banged your head on the desk, I'm sure that you would have. But it was so.
I'm pretty sure.
Geometry's an emotional
I'm pretty sure
I feel
like
like
my
every-
class.
Here we go, number 20.
Sorry.
Great tour less than. The last question of the day. Great tour. If absolute x minus 1 is greater than 11, you got 2 choices. Either 4x minus 1 is bigger than 11, or it's less than -11, right? You got 2 choices. It's either farther to the right of 11, or it's farther to the left of -11. Those are your 2 choices. So it's either 4x minus 1 is greater than 11 to start with, or 4x minus 1 is less than -11. Does that make sense? I have a number in my pocket. The absolute value of it is bigger than 11. Can it be 12? Can it be -12? Yes, right? Because the absolute value of -12 is positive 12. Okay? So it's kind of symmetry, but it's to the right of 11 and to the left of -11. Ooh. Okay? Add 1. Divide by 4. So x is greater than 3, or add 1. Divide by 4. Or x is less than -2.5. Okay. And then graph it. I can't believe I didn't tell you guys about the math team.
Very disappointing.
Oh yeah, that was a great day for me. Had a tear in my eye.
Your life is not complete.
Exactly. As long as she's captain.
As long as she makes it.
Isn't a captain, then you gotta make a captain.
Yeah. I will send
Write a letter.
a strongly worded email
Yeah.
to the math coach. Like, if you need to make a captain, it needs to be Mallory. End of story.
Listen, we're gonna have an issue. I know where you live.
That's how parents are.
No, I can have you fired.
Listen, I know thinking about you.
Have you seen one chick that-
No, not yet. The weekend was very busy. Questions here.
Sweet dog.
All next. I will post the video on Canvas for your viewing pleasure. Yes.